Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Nature Cure Summit, where we are talking about the fact that all you need to heal, grow, and thrive can be found in nature, the universe, and within ourselves. Throughout this summit, I have talked to experts from all over the globe through a variety of different healing modalities, and we've all been talking about the fact that really all you need is right here for you in the nature and within yourself so that you can live your best life. And today I'm talking with Brodie Welch. She's a licensed acupuncturist, a board-certified herbalist. She's a Chinese medicine expert and a self-care strategist. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about self-care and what it means to be a self-care strategist and why you might need a self-care strategy. So we're going to talk about that today. But Brodie is actually the founder of Life in Balance Acupuncture, and she's been treating patients for a long time, since 2003. She also, in addition to her clinical practice, she also offers coaching services and programs on stress management, digestive health, mind and body connection, moving meditation, Qigong, and Chinese medicine. And she's also the creator and the host of a Healthy Curiosity podcast, where she explores what it takes to be well in a busy world. So I'm so excited to speak with Brodie today, and she can really shed some light onto some of the principles in Chinese medicine, how they apply to our everyday lives, and why self-care is so important. So Brodie, welcome to the Nature Cure Summit.
Michelle, I'm so happy to be with you. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really excited to dig into your philosophy and your thoughts behind how we can actually improve our lives through self-care. But before we get into that, I'm really curious to know what got you interested in Eastern medicine, herbalism, acupuncture. Like, what drove you to first spark your curiosity in health, and then why these principles?
Well, my journey started off in a completely different direction. I graduated from college thinking that I was going to change the world in some big activist style way, like, just start a nonprofit or be in government or some sort of change the world all at once. I was an idealist and wanted to help humanity, and realized really quickly that that path was heading me for serious burnout, and it was not something that was right for me. And thankfully, it's right for a lot of other people, and I'm super grateful that those people exist. But I went and I then just felt like, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. I'm going to go to massage school because I'd always been told you have an intuitive touch. And so in massage school, I took a class in shiatsu, which is an Eastern form of bodywork that's based on the same principles as acupuncture in Chinese medicine. And I was exposed to these ideas of yin and yang, and the idea that the body is this microcosm of the universe, right? That the universe is the macrocosm, and that everything that exists out in nature exists in our bodies as well. And so I learned a little bit about these principles of qi, and that, that essentially we're not these sacks of meat or machines. We're this living fields of energy, and that we're changing all the time, and that we create balance and health in the body by adjusting the flow of qi and by restoring a balance of yin and yang. And I was just fascinated by the corollaries, and I knew I had to learn more. So I went immediately and did my master's in Oriental medicine and opened my acupuncture practice. And a lot of people sort of don't know that acupuncture is just the sexiest branch of Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine is actually a whole lot more than that. It encompasses herbalism, Qigong, and meditation. Qigong meaning energy exercise or energy cultivation or skill, as well as whole principles around eating and aligning your life with the seasons. And so really Chinese medicine inherently is about it is about creating balance in the body, and it's the true body, mind, spirit unity, like that really any energy that exists can be explained in terms of Chinese medicine, and that anything that you might be moving towards, whether it's on a health path or a personal growth path, is something that we can support with either a point or an herb or a philosophy or a way of applying that to our lives. And so I just fell in love with it, the theory aspect, before I even knew how powerful it was or what it could do. And that was, and that was back in 99. So been on the path a while. Yeah.
Wow, that is incredible. I was just picturing you like holding a sign with a t-shirt that says
Totally. Yes,
"Congrats on the
exactly.
day."
Uh-huh.
And then now like it's like sitting in an office with gentle music play, like it is almost the yin and yang of Brodie Welch almost.
Well, and really, it's like the two aren't actually as far apart as I think, because in one way, that healthy individuals depend on healthy communities, and healthy communities depends on a healthy planet and healthy environment. And so just as now I'm making time to meditate and do my healthy eating and do my exercise, I'm also taking the time to make my activist calls and things like, it's a
Yeah.
part of that self-care, because that's about living in integrity with my values. But my day-to-day energy can be spent holding a compassionate space for people to transform and to heal. And so it's that softer, more yin, less active doing, kind of side of it. But that the fact that the only way that we're going to change the culture and have healthier people is by changing the values. And we got to start living into that. And especially, I think, as women.
I totally agree. And I think you are changing the world just one person at a time instead of the whole world at a time. And I think like when people are healthier, they can actually think more logically and they can be more compassionate. And so I just would like you to unpack what that means, the yin and the yang. Like I know a lot of people have heard of this and they're picturing in their head a symbol with black and white. And we're familiar with the fact that it's opposites. But as Chinese medicine, like what properties does each of those convey?
Well, if we feel into the yin yang symbol a little bit, that I think you're right. Everybody's probably familiar with what it looks like, but you can really meditate on it and derive a lot of wisdom from it. But first of all, the fact that it's not a rectangle that's divided in half with a black and a white part. So it's not just they're opposites. It's that they're dynamic opposites. They're like the curve in the middle implies that that life is dynamic. It's really a symbol of life. And so life is not this static thing. It's this always moving, always changing phenomenon that depends on that basically if you go from everything in the world of duality is going to have yin and yang properties. So nothing is purely yin or yang, everything's both. And the two sides of that is that yin is basically everything that is like the cool, the dark, the still, the restful, the rejuvenating, the receptive, the quiet, that kind of stuff. And the yang is going to be the more bright, active, heating, moving, dynamic, doing aspect of it. And so we need both, right? And yet and actually the interplay between yin and yang is qi, right? So that's the energy of life. And so really, if we think about our bodies, that all the stuff of who we are, like our skin, our flesh, our bones, our fat, our fluids, that's the yin. And all of the processes, our heart beating, our respiration, our immune system, our digestion, that's the yang. And we know, of course, that matter and energy are the same thing. That's Einstein's equation. And so really, like, we're a bunch of empty space that happens. We think of ourselves as solid, but we're really energy. And when we can think about affecting the energy as opposed to affecting the matter, a lot more becomes possible. Like suddenly it becomes possible to age in reverse, that we can feel younger as well as older. We can cultivate our energy differently. And the fact that with in our society, if we think about what our society values, it's speed, it's productivity, it's doing. People make their days longer and their nights shorter. We're getting 25% less sleep than we were a quarter century ago, and that's leading to depression and overwhelm and all this. And it's like, because we're so highly prizing the yang. And
yes, I was just going to ask you that exact same thing. Like as you were explaining the two sides, like what came to me was, wow, we really are a society where it's go, 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 do, do, do. And we don't really value the stillness and the rejuvenation and yes, the sleep. Oh my God. I worked in corporate America many years before I moved over to medical, and like people would brag about how much they can do and how little sleep. Even like you hear the news and like they'll talk about celebrities and owners of large companies that can get by on 4 hours of sleep. And, it's all a bunch of BS because it's actually have I think Ariana Huffington was the one who blew it out and like said like that's not true at all. Like they actually sleep quite a bit, but it's really hard. You know, we have a lot of demands and there's a lot of things we want to do. Your mom, you have the kids to take care of, and then you have a family. Maybe you have a career. Maybe you're volunteering. And so, how do you get that balance?
Yeah, it's a really important question because that's usually the person that I'm treating is exactly, and that person is me, by the way. You know, like I have stepchildren. I have Insta kids that I suddenly stepped into when they were 8 and 12, and I run a business and I treat patients and I play in a band and I do, you know, I have a husband and I have. I value walking my talk around making time to meditate and exercise and eat well and all that. It's like there's a lot going on. And I think the only way that we can increase our capacity to be present for the people in our lives the way that we want to be is by cultivating healthy self-care habits, right?
Yeah.
If you think about how many tens of thousands of decisions we have to make in a day, the more we can put on autopilot, the easier everything goes, right? That's an estimated 30 to 40% of our day is habit, is like happens without thinking about it. And so automating self-care is a huge part of how I help women who are overwhelmed or who are dipping into their reserves and whacking out their hormones by not sleeping and with increasing stress and like all of that. It's like it's super hard. It becomes this Gordian knot, right? If you're already feeling overwhelmed and stressed and tired, you're going to make terrible food choices, and then you're going to feel like crap about that, and then you're not going to want to move because then you're achy and you know feel all this shame, and it's like it's that much harder. And so it's the kind of thing where we need to not prize busyness and sort of yang addiction. We need to actually recognize that it's a courageous and radical act of feminism as well as self-care to go to bed early, you know, or to do something as simple as just making these small steps that can take someone from that state of overwhelm to really living within their own energy budget and being, because from there is when, I mean, we all know like that the world feels totally different on a good night's sleep, for example. And so it's, and that, like, I know that I'm very rarely the person that I want to be when I'm stressed out. And so getting a handle on that is so key.
Yeah, so you mentioned automating self-care. That's kind of an interesting concept. A lot of times we think of automating our emails or, you know, automating, you know, things in our life or in business. We talk about automation a lot, but self-care, we don't talk about automating our self-care. So can you talk a little bit about that? Yeah,
well, essentially it's like nobody likes to think about habits either, right? You know, like that feels really kind of stodgy and stale. But to me, it's like recognizing that in order, like I have all these ideas of all these things I want to do. I have all this creativity. I usually have tons of energy, and I can only really be at my best when the structure of self-care is in place. And from there, I have like a strong platform from which to serve, and stress can happen and nothing knocks me off my game, right? You know, and so it's like, but those habits have been 20 years in the making. And so it's the kind of thing, but I forget who said it, but that I think it was Einstein that said it, that the strongest force in the universe is compound interest, right? You know, so this idea that we plant these seeds, and when we water that same ground over time, that seed sprouts and it flourishes. And so it's the kind of thing where we can talk about, like, well, the fastest way to affect your mind, for example, is with your breath. Right. And so, but yet how, you know, and you can say, oh, just breathe, you know, like take a deep breath, relax, exhale, you know, and it can be this trite little piece of advice, or it can be life-changingly profound. And so the trick is to actually practice it. Right. So in the morning, having just like we might brush our teeth and jump in the shower, it's like, where's that 5 minutes on the cushion to just get in touch with the breath? You know, that's
true. That's when we brush our teeth like most people wake up, hopefully you don't touch your cell phone yet, you get out of bed, maybe you drink some water, and then you walk to the bathroom. And most people will brush their teeth almost immediately. So that's automated self-care, right? That one thing.
Exactly. So why not hook onto that,
Yeah.
a whole series of habits? That's actually one of the ways that we can hack our routines, is by hooking onto an existing routine with a little micro habit. And so so in the morning, if you can get in the basics, a breathing practice, an exercise practice, a meditation practice, and feeding yourself well before you get out the door.
Wait, Brodie, how long is
Yeah.
this going to take?
Well,
We're
it
busy in the
depends.
morning.
We are busy in the morning.
Right here. She's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I'm going to add in meditation. I'm going to add in breathing. Like, what else do you want me to do, Brodie, before I get the kids out the door? So unwrap that for me. What does that look like?
Absolutely. Well, I personally, I think that if you're totally new to a meditation practice and you're wanting to start one, my first word of encouragement is to make it modular but non-negotiable. So in other words, you always have 1 minute. Like, I don't care how rushed you are, you always have 1 minute. And that therefore you're going to sit down and you're going to take one conscious breath and then let it out for a minute. And that's going to be your new meditation practice. And on the days that you have 5 minutes, great. You can gradually work up. But, and so like individual, how to fit this into your day, kind of that it may take some individual coaching and some strategizing around it. But pretty much everybody, I submit, if you don't have 1 minute, then you're in trouble. Right? And that recognizing that 1 minute of centeredness has the power to downregulate your nervous system to a point where everything else in your day is going to flow more efficiently.
Yeah, I fully can testify to that fact. Like because I'm not perfect, I don't meditate every single day, but I do make it a priority. So on the days that I don't miss my meditation, like things can happen. Everyone knows I have a 2-year-old who will like run and interrupt my work, or he'll have a little tantrum, or, whatever it might be. And the days that I meditate, I find it humorous, or, it's easy to bounce right back into my work. But on the days that I don't, I notice myself reacting instead of just being. And it's very interesting to observe.
So you're noticing the true cost of not doing it, right?
Exactly.
Like on the days that I do this, I'm able to just be more playful with my kid as opposed to being irritable. And
yeah, and it's just any situation, even, you get cut off driving to the office or whatever it might be, if you're already took that time for yourself, that I find myself not to be as reactive. And my patients will tell me the same thing when they do their breathing exercises. They actually, you feel more grounded, and you're able to, you're able to see the world differently.
Yeah, it's really true. So, and you asked, how can I get this all done? Well, so it can be slowly and modularly. Mm-hmm. The other thing that if people are not familiar with Qigong as a practice, I'd love to just talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, I find it, I'm very interested. Yeah. We kind of chatted right before, and I was telling Brodie how I find it very interesting. I'm one of those people that, for those of you who don't follow me, I do triathlons, I do adventure races, I was a kickboxer, so very hardcore exercise. When I hear exercise, I'm just yeah, let's go hard. But as of lately, I've been really being driven towards more yoga, more of the moving meditation, which Qigong is part of that. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. I think the audience would be very interested, because it doesn't entail just sitting there and thinking about nothing.
Exactly. So actually, I wrote an article for the Huffington Post about Qigong as yoga's less sexy cousin, right? Because it's they're really related. Qigong is like Taoist yoga, but whereas yoga is all angular and fairly yang, right? And fairly external. Mm-hmm. Qigong is a lot less flashy, but those still waters run deep. And so it's that idea of, you can think of Qigong as either a very yin form of exercise, gentle, flowy movements. Most people have heard of Tai Chi, and Tai Chi is kind of like a subcategory of Qigong. It's you're cultivating energy for the purposes of martial arts. Mm-hmm. But Qigong is also for basically doing self-healing work, kind of like an acupuncturist would use needles to adjust the flow of energy in the body and to balance the different organ systems. You can do that with yourself by combining breath with movement and intention. And that's basically what Qigong is all about. So it's either very gentle exercise or very active meditation.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of get the benefits. Like we know, like there's so much research on mindfulness and on meditation and how good that is for you. And then exercises, of course, if we could bottle the effects of exercise, it would be the best-selling drug there is, right? And so Qigong is an amazing way to do both. And in about 20 minutes a day, you can move a lot of energy. You can feel grounded. You can get kind of it can build strength, right? So research on Qigong shows that it can help with everything from just so many things, but it can build our bones. It can help us build strength in our lower body. It can help with balance. It can help with our cardiovascular systems, our immune system, depression, sleep. That calms the nervous system, calms the mind. There's tons of links to these studies on my website. And
it sounds amazing. And then you don't have all those side, because it almost sounded like that, it's commercials that you see on TV for the drug where they give you all the great things that it does, but now you don't have to say all those bad side effects afterwards, right?
Well, exactly. Like the laundry list of like might also affect your,
exactly.
It's all good stuff. And so it's like, people have maybe a lot of reasons for getting into it, but Qigong, it's a beautiful practice and it's very efficient. If you're tight on time, it's the kind of thing that you can do anytime, anywhere for just a few minutes or for a longer practice without getting sweaty and without buying yoga pants.
So how would one learn a Qigong practice?
Well, I have a class that is available online that people can download, and it just walks you through the basics. It's video, it's audio, it's cheat sheets, and also introduces you a little bit to the mind-body stuff, like this movement's for the lungs, and and the lungs have to do with not only breathing but also immunity and also the emotion of sadness and letting go and also intuition, and so it kind of like for people who are interested and curious about Chinese medicine and who want to learn a bit about self-care for different organ systems in the body on both an emotional and a physical level. There are movements that can actually help open those channels and that can help be medicine for those particular organ systems in the body. So I developed that class because Qigong it's just totally this under the radar, it's hard to find a Qigong teacher, right? And in a lot of places. And while I love teaching live, I've taken a step back so that I can develop some new courses and offerings and things like that. But 12 Treasures Qigong is my class, and it's available for download at any time. And so
awesome. So that's something where we could follow along with you doing a Qigong practice, and it's 20 minutes long. Awesome. That sounds amazing. Yeah, so we'll put a link to this video for anyone who's interested. I'm going to probably do it. So awesome. You guys can do it along with me. I'll post my progress.
It's based on a form that's over 2,000 years old. So it's like it stood the test of time, but then I kind of put my own spin on it based on what my body was needing. So it's
I love it.
It's a riff on a classic.
Awesome. And then you also have a really awesome free gift for everybody who's watching right now that could also help with developing one of these habits, one of these practices. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. I've got the Common Centered Bundle, which actually is two things. One is just the world's simplest Qigong exercise, that takes you through just combining breathing with movement. So essentially it just takes you through it in just a few minutes. And then there's an audio breathing relaxation meditation kind of a thing, and that's about 5 minutes long if you need to learn how to breathe in a way that downregulates the nervous system and takes you out of that stress, fight or flight mode and back into parasympathetic rest and repair mode, which is where we should be all the time. The fastest way to do that is with the breath. And so the free gift it's that first baby step on that path, and but just that alone could be done. You can set a little timer on your phone and do it 3 times a day, and that could be an amazing way of just reminding the body, like life isn't an emergency, and we can operate from this place of centeredness, which is where we need to be in order to heal.
Wow, that's a fabulous tool. I love that it's like quick and easy and can shift you out of that worry, fight or flight kind of on that we all are feeling all the time. And sometimes you don't even realize it, but you feel tight and you notice you're not breathing. all the way, like you're taking these little breaths, and that's when you need to do this exercise because you get you back.
Precisely, like you nailed it. Like just that cultivating that breath awareness, even just that reminder 3 times a day, maybe even before you eat. Like, okay, am I in
that's
flight or rest and
actually
repair?
excellent before you eat, because when you eat in that stressed out state, you actually don't
digest.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love it. That's such a great idea. And I don't think many people have talked about that, about really making sure that you're centered and relaxed before you eat so you can be more mindful and actually absorb more of your food. So that's
totally
fabulous.
Well, and I had to learn that the hard way in my body. I used to chronically overeat because I was trying to ground myself. And it was only until realizing that's like, oh, right, I don't actually give myself more than 5 minutes to eat. Of course I'm eating more than I need because it's the way that I'm getting rest. So
but it's also mommies, like after I had my son, like, why am I inhaling my food? Because I'm trying to hurry up and get something down. But now he's older and he actually lets me eat. But I have to actually be really mindful so I don't like hurry up and eat. Like me and my husband are like, are we eating really fast? Like, why are we eating really fast? We don't even have to do that anymore. And so, these little like subconscious habits kind of take in. And unless you center yourself back, and I do the same thing. I mean, even knowing without doing is the same thing as not knowing. So even if we know that we should be mindful, and we know we should breathe, and we know we should meditate, if we don't do it, then we don't get the effects of it.
So true, right? It's that and the fact that it's a practice, right? Like you said earlier, like it's not perfect. It's like, well, of course it's not perfect. It's a practice. And so it's just that, and the more we practice, the better we feel. And so yeah.
What do you think is the biggest struggle people have when it comes to, implementing things like this in their life?
Oh, there are, I think, 2 things in the way. The first is that women especially are enculturated to be caregivers and to think that self-care is selfish.
Right.
And it's just not. And it's like, and I can't even tell you how many times a day I give that same little pep talk / lecture that self-care is actually not selfish. It's essential. Think about how many people in your life benefit when you are the best version of you. And the fact that it's actually that in order to not burn out, in order to be sustainable at rocking your mission in the world or being the person that you want to be and your family, that you matter, right? And that women who are so often so compassionate towards their children or their partners or their friends or really anyone and that they may be in relationship with, that we somehow cut ourselves out of that equation and denying ourselves that common humanity, just that it's not kind and it's kind of a shadow, like there is and so I think that a lot of times it's like it feels uncomfortable to pick you, especially because there's somebody crying over there in the corner and there's somebody who needs help with homework, and there's it's tough, but it's also that recognizing actually that having witnesses, like becoming a stepmom and suddenly having witnesses, that being able to actually role model what self-care looks like, where I can express out loud, yes, I would really like to do that, and I really need to go take a bath. And I don't have the space to listen right now, because I just treated a bunch of patients and I absolutely need to go for a walk right now, and being able to get clear about that so that I can be totally available when I want to be and taking care of myself when that's necessary. So anyway, so self-care is not selfish is the one message that I want to shout from the rooftops. But I think that the hardest thing about putting these things into practice is precisely because of habits, right? That it's hard to create something new because we've got the inertia of the old way that's holding us back. And so a lot of times the things, like, people leave my office and they're fired up to make a change, and they, some of them, it's a rare person who comes back a month later and says, I did everything that we talked about.
Right.
It's like most of the time people are like, I did great for a few days, and then because we don't have support in our lives, like community support, and we don't necessarily have the accountability that we need, and we don't necessarily have the guidance, right? So kind of like, how do I actually implement this? I know I'm supposed to meditate, but what does that look like? How can I impact that? So that's kind of why that's some of my most favorite work that I do is in my capacity as self-care strategist, in terms of working with people who really want to up level, who want to do things differently, who are ready to stop feeling overwhelmed and exhausted and making not great food choices and having, hating their bodies and all that. And so being able to strategize about the steps necessary to really live into, in a sustainable way, slow changes over time that result in that compound interest of really living a different experience.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I really agree with what you said about like modeling it for your children. So, even when you're taking that time out for yourself so you could actually be better for them, but you're also showing them that they could take out time for themselves too. And like, they watch you as they're growing up, meditating and going for walks and eating healthy foods, then they're going to know that that's important for them to do for themselves too. And maybe we won't have to have this conversation with them. Maybe they'll already have these habits. And so that's really what I'm hoping to really drive home for people, especially moms and parents. Like, share this information with your children, meditate with them, do the Qigong with them, really make it part of their life, make it part of their normality, so that as they get older, like, it continues to be part of their life and isn't something they have to now fit in because, life is just running them. And so, I think that's a huge message. And self-care, like you said, it's not selfish. Like when you're on an airplane and the mask drops, so you have to get yourself first. You have to be able to breathe if you're going to be able to help the person next to you breathe. And, that's kind of rings true for everything we talked about here.
It's really true, and we can even think about it like in terms of a societal perspective. It's preventative health care. So you can either make time to do these things, which are kind of great, like you kind of feel awesome after you exercise, right? Like very rarely do you take time to meditate and think that was a waste, like that. It feels good, and it's so much better than coming to a point of crisis and having to scale back, do less because you're being forced to. And it's like, that's really, I can tell you as a healthcare provider, it is so much easier to keep healthy people healthy than to try to reverse something that has gone to a crisis point. And that's true for everything from autoimmunity to type 2 diabetes to, like all the metabolic diseases that are pretty much a result that are oftentimes very preventable, and that that require slowing down, that require honoring the yin, that require tending to ourselves.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I love your statement. Self-care is not selfish, it's necessary. So we're going to leave you guys with that statement. Brodie, thank you so much for being here today. I really, I loved hearing about everything that you do, and I really feel like what you've explained and the tools you shared are super valuable. So thank you so much.
It's been such a pleasure. Thanks again for inviting me and providing this platform for people to learn.
Oh, you're so welcome. And thank you guys all for taking the time out of your day to really spend some time to do something good for yourself, learn some new skills, meet Brodie, and really dig a little deeper into how you can take care of yourself so you can take better care of others and the planet. So thank you again for being here today. I hope that you download the free gifts, check out the course, and check out what Brodie has to offer in her coaching programs. She's really an amazing teacher and very insightful. She can help you guys get to your goals. So thank you again. It's been the Nature Cure Summit. This is Dr. Michelle Sands, and we will see you back again tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey there, it's Dr. Michelle, and I just wanted to commend you and thank you for spending a little bit of your day to do something empowering. I hope that you found value in today's content and that you'll go out and use this new information to improve your life, even in a small way. I want you to open up to the possibility of making today, this week, and this year the greatest possibility you've had so far to improve your life. This is about breaking out of old paradigms. It is about learning the act of living naturally. It's about honoring who you are and allowing all that is good into your life. I promise to continue to bring you educational, empowering, and inspiring content to help you achieve the body you dream about, but more importantly, help you live the life you deserve. Remember, all that you need, you already have. It's right here, in nature and within yourself. So stay tuned for some more value-packed interviews, and be sure to check out all of the resources at glownaturalmedicine.com.